my dear friend Carolyn A. Brent. Carolyn, how are you today? I know you're having a phenomenal month, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and I'm just so honored, David, to see you again. I really, really miss you, and thank you for always checking on me, tapping into my deep beauty, and keeping me on track with things I need to do for self-care. I really appreciate that.
Well, before I start the interviews, I don't want to forget, Caregiver's Companion is a book that is a best-selling book. It's also in the Library of Congress. So if this is a real book, right? I mean, when you get to the Library of Congress and you're being taught at universities, this is it. She put a lot of heart and soul into this book. Her story is too long for us to talk about it today, but Caregiver's Companion is something that if you have ever lost someone or have gone through anything with family, caregiving and things like that, this is the type of book you should look at. Her new book, Transforming Your Life Through Self-Care. I must say that this book, I'm in it. So I'm a little excited to kind of plug it a little bit more, right? I'm in this book. But the reason I'm in this book is why we're going to do this little interview in a minute. But so those are just two of her many, many books. So Carolyn A. Brent, you can Google her, or I'll have all the information in the description of this segment, so you'll be able to go to her site. You'll be able to buy the book if that's something you need. But make sure you look her up and find out what this young lady, after the age of 60, is living her dreams. Carolyn, I just want to share with people how, people come in your life. I always talk about divine appointments. I talk about divine connections. And I mean, seriously, our connection cannot be as weirder as anything else I've ever had in my life. I mean, and
That's very true.
And I kind of want you to share that, even if we take a minute or so, but I kind of want to share that. I mean, tell me how you didn't know anything about me, right?
No, nothing.
And then you showed up at one of the bodybuilding shows that I host, and tell me a little bit about what happened that day.
Well, I was getting ready to compete later that year in a bodybuilding competition, and my coach at the time said, "Oh, Caroline, why don't you go and present trophies?" So what I did, I bought a cute dress and I walked behind stage. I didn't have permission from anyone because I didn't know any better. I walked behind stage and I said, "I'm here to present trophies," and they said, "Well, who are you?" I said, "I'm Carolyn A. Brent." And they said, "Well, we don't know who you are." And then Andreas, he said, "Well, I'm sorry, does David know you?" I said, "Well, who's David?" And he said, "Well, who told you to come back here?" I said, "Well, my coach told me that I was going to be a presenter." He said, "Well, who's your coach?" And I told him the coach. He said, "Your coach has nothing to do with this show." And I thought, okay, this has to be a joke. And it wasn't a joke. And so basically they said, "Well, you could stay and watch the show," which I did. I went back. I had a beautiful dress that I had just bought that day from one of the vendors that you have, Latour. Is it called
Intrigue Couture?
Yeah, Intrigue Couture.
Amazing dress.
Beautiful red dress. So I kept the dress and I said, "Dear God, why did I show up here?" So I gave my business card to Barbara, the owner that sold me my dress, and I said, "Well, tell David, or tell whoever David is, tell him I came, tell him I would love to be in one of his shows. I didn't know I was supposed to be behind stage," and everyone wanted to know, "How did you get behind stage?" Now, this is how I got behind stage, David. When you walk with authority and confident, and you feel that you belong, nobody's going to stop you. Nobody said, "Who are you?" They only asked me who I was when I was on the stage, behind the stage, and said, "Well, what do I do?" And they're going, "Who are you?" And that was they didn't even know how I got behind, really behind, because there's security. Security didn't stop me. Nobody stopped me. And that's how I met you. It was the weirdest thing.
So here's the interesting part of this conversation. If you've ever been to one of my shows, one of the shows that is, I'm going to say the shows that I've been hosting for the last 10 years for Andres Miller, QCB promotion shows, I will say that there's security there can't stop. We don't let anyone back there because we have competitors, we have valuables, we have awards, we have everything. We just don't want any chaos. So just to get back there, you have to walk in authority. You have to be. But here's the thing: a lot of amazing people try to get back there. They can. Carolyn got there, but Andres said this right thing. Does David know you're here? Because I am the one that picks the models, picks the presenters. I produce he gives me the leeway to produce the night show. So if you are not on my list or on a text or an email that I sent to somebody, you are not to be on that stage, period. This is a preparation for months, and then of course the final week. But here's what happened. Barbara gives me the card and says, or gives me her number and says, you need to meet this lady. I don't know why. You need to meet this lady. She thought she was coming here to be a presenter, but David, you need to meet her. And I kept the number, and then all of a sudden, I think it was right before I went to Europe on my trip. So the show was over. Yeah. Right before I go to Europe, I think I was at a store, and in the parking lot, I felt the need to call her and apologize, because I found out that she was told by her coach to be there. I found out everybody loved her. I found out she came there humble as anybody, just to be a servant, be a service, right? And so I called her to apologize. And it's a day that I'll never forget in my life, because that became the day that I became a friend to Carolyn A. Brent. I didn't know anything about her, didn't know her accolades, didn't know anything. But that day became a very special day that God did a divine appointment, because she didn't expect me to apologize for what? It wasn't anything I did, but I felt the need to tell her that I was sorry, because I wished I would have met her, and you know what? I wish I would have had her. Since then, she's been gracing the stages of some of the shows that I've had as a presenter, looking as amazing as she is. If I can say your age, Carolyn.
Yeah, 63.
63 years young. She competed at 60 years old. She competed and won shows, and it's just been part of her life, you know. But that day became an amazing. My last years have been amazing, just getting to know her. But more importantly, I was telling her about my book and about my cancer story, and she decided to send this to her publisher, to her agent, that doesn't have no one, right? You have sent her how many stories?
At least seven writers or want to be authors. I've had them to send their proposals, and she's turned down every last one of them, except for you, David. She took you under her wings, the only one, and she hasn't accepted anyone since then.
So again,
you were the first and last.
And she's and you know, my agent's in my life. We're talking. We did the proposal. Now we're finishing editing process of the chapters of the book to get a publishing deal. But again, if I don't make that phone call, I talk about obedience. I don't have an agent for my book, and I'm still shopping around my own book. So here's the thing. That was, and again, the book hasn't been published, but here's the thing. This conversation is going to be a huge conversation when it is published, because I do believe that my testimony will be published. And when it is, we're going to be talking about Carolyn A. Brent, how she made a divine appointment connection with my agent. So again, that's just a little thing. So I wanted to share that story with people, right? But again, let's talk about you. Let's talk about, again, you know, you've been doing this book. You finally finished it, a bestseller, transforming your life through self-care. And but again, you also called me and said, David, it's almost time. I think the law is going to change in California. She has been, since her father had passed away, she has been trying to change the law in California. Can you tell me a little bit about that in a way that people can understand?
Yeah, it's really, really simple. I was a caregiver for 12 years. I was one out of 7 adult children taking care of our father, because everyone else was busy. So I took on the honor to care for our dad. And once my family thought our dad was dying, he had a massive hematoma, then all of a sudden I had not 1, not 2, but I had 3 restraining orders against me, because they wanted to take over, because they may have thought, and the reason why I say they may have thought, this is the only thing I could think of,
correct,
our father had money. And as a result of that, my health, David, it went down the tubes. Imagine the stress I was under, being dragged from one court to the next court to the next court, all for my twin sister to drop the charges once we stood before the judge. That happened to me 3 times, and it literally, it pierced my soul. It literally did. And then I got really, really sick, ended up in the hospital, and I felt
No, I can. I talked about it the other day.
I said, dear God, why did you have me to take care of my father that I love? Why did he have dementia? I don't understand. And why did my family attack me? And then my father's spirit just came to me while I was in that hospital bed. And my father said, Carolyn, don't you remember everything I taught you about love, about making a difference, about being a difference? Get up out that bed and you go and you get the laws changed. And do not come to find me until the laws are changed.
So
and David,
stop right. I want to give people an opportunity to understand. Her father passed away, and there was a funeral. She didn't go because she felt that I have to change the law and then come visit him. So until this day, till the law changes, she hasn't been able to go to have that final goodbye, even though we know her father's in heaven, but the final goodbye to his grave. So I just want to give you guys how deep that is.
yeah.
Okay? Okay, keep going, please.
And David, one thing about it, I never knew that he died.
Oh, we had you frozen. Okay. So I'm going to see if Carolyn can come back. Okay.
So it wasn't
There we
like
go.
I didn't know. I mean, I did not know. However, what I did, I kept my promise to my father. So I would go to the California state legislators every year for 14 years. I've done this. And then this past December 12th, I'll never forget it. They came knocking at my door, and I had a 2.5-hour luncheon with the head of long-term care, head of the Department of Aging, and they said, can you please help us and share with us what can we do, because the problem you're having, it's a real problem here in California. So they took my whole proposal and my package, and they said, we want to make this universal, not just for seniors, we want it for everyone.
Yeah.
Because there's families that are divorced, going through the same thing, there's all kind of stuff. And I said, okay, no problem. So David, it's in the making. The only thing that's happened so far, the virus, the pandemic has kind of stopped a little bit of what's going on, but that law is going to be changed this year. And I'm going to my father's gravesite, December, I have the date already.
Oh, okay.
October 16th. So I'll let you know, because I'm making the preparations right now. You're part of that few selected people that will go there. Media will go, and that's when the closure will come. And I have to tell you, I feel so honored, so excited, because I know that I had an appointed time. If it wasn't for my father telling me to get the laws changed, I never would have written my first book, because my dad gave me that instruction, David, before I became an advocate and before I became a writer. And now all my books, actually 3 of my books, are in all the major universities worldwide, public libraries. People get it for free online. Just download it from the libraries. And I'm very, very grateful, because I know my purpose.
Amen.
I know my purpose.
Amen.
And I'm living it. And that's why I was supposed to meet you.
And here's the thing about, so she's talking about purpose, but here's the thing about this book. It's not just about her story. There's so much legal information. There is so much, and it's not about her books, about her story. The reason I'm doing this, because I truly just believe in her so much. But again, we're meant to share, right? And I just want to share that with you. There's so much legal information. There's so much stuff in that book that can teach you and give you guidelines on things that you might go through that you didn't know about. And the reason that she's changing the law is it's a big deal. She's talking about over a decade. Think about that. I've been doing what I've been doing for over a decade. It's a lot of work to do what you do and believe in your promise. She's talked about making a promise. So did I. I made a promise to God. Give me my life, heal me of cancer, and I'll tell your story. And I've been consistent on it. And that's what I admire about Carolyn. She's been consistent about that as well, of sharing her story and living her promise, right? So besides that, how did you end up in a gym? So after that goes on, because that's the major part, but then the gym part, what is going on? How old were you? 59, 58?
I was actually 54
Okay.
when I started back going to the gym.
Okay.
Because I wanted to become an authority of me. I had given my authority to jobs, given my authority two marriages, two ex-husbands, given my authority, my power to other people. And I said, in order for me to become healthy, because the doctor told me the road I was headed down, I would be in a wheelchair. And it wasn't because I was fat or anything. It's because I'm bone on bone in my spine. And if I put on 20 pounds, he said, your body wouldn't, your weight wouldn't be able to, the bones wouldn't be able to support the weight. And I said, oh, that's never going to happen. That's what I told the doctor. So I started studying nutrition on my own, wasn't doing too good. And then I decided, let me hire some professionals to help me to get on the right track. Let me do some research for myself. So I had to learn about Carolyn and Brent because I didn't know what to eat that soothed my body, soothed my soul. I didn't know. So that's when I started. I went on stage the very first time at the age of 57.
Okay.
I got second place, and it was in Orlando. It was the NPC in Orlando. I got second place, but that really made me desire more. I wanted more. It's like, this is good, but I wanted first place. And then I knew if I was going to write a book on health and wellness, I have to be an example of what I'm writing about. So I said, let me hire the best of the best. Let me do more research, and let me go on stage and please, dear God, let me win number one, because I want people to know that was a journey. And meeting people like yourself in the bodybuilding world, you guys are the greatest group of people, of believers that I've run across. Wow. Because everybody helped me, David, along the way. It was, although we're competing with each other, everybody's still trying to help. Telling, that's why I love doing shows with Andreas, because I love how you're on stage and you're sharing everyone's story, how a person went from, let's say, 300 pounds to being on stage and winning number one. How in the heck does someone do that unless they become an authority of their own life, believe in a higher power, which is God, Amen. And just believe in self and do the work, because it's work.
It is work.
There's no shortcuts. You don't compete with anyone except for that person in the mirror. So when you cheat, you're cheating yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? When you reward yourself, you're rewarding yourself. I haven't been able to work out for about a month now because of my beautiful, this right here is my beautiful bracelet.
She broke her hand. We are not going to go how she broke it. I don't want that on YouTube, but I will say this. So go back into context. 50-something years old, 54, you started 57.
Yeah, I started at 54 and I went on stage at 57.
At 57, she gets on 57-year-old in a bikini at a bodybuilding competition. Just think about that. If you've never been to a show, and if you have been to a show, think about all the people that don't belong there. And she gets second place. Then at 60 years old, she wins first place. And here's her reasoning. I'm going to be writing a book. Again, I want you to understand what dreams are about.
Yeah.
Please listen to what I'm trying to say. It's a dream. People have a vision and a dream. What she shared is a vision and a dream. She didn't say, I have a book. She says, I'm going to be writing a book someday. And this is their last book, her self-care. I'm going to be writing a book someday. Oh, and I have to be an expert. And to do that, I need to win. So there's another crazy idea. I was sharing with Carolyn, like my mom and me talk about, it takes crazy to do crazy, right? So we're crazy, that's fine. But you know what? Would you want to be this kind of crazy? Or would you just want to be in the norm and not be able to live your dreams? So she's dreaming, she's visualizing, she writes her book, she wins her show, she writes her book. Now I also want to make sure I say, she went to hire the best of the best. I did not train her. I'm just kidding. I did not train her. I met her after she won. I'm just letting you know. I had to throw that in. Just a little, just a little extra. I'm kidding.
This is the key. I didn't know you.
You didn't know me, I know.
Yeah, when I went on stage, I didn't know you.
No, but you had a great trainer. There's no doubt about it. Great trainer, great coach, great people around you. So yeah, no, and you won. So that's it. You won.
But David, yes, this is what you do for me. You keep that momentum going. Because it's not about just winning once. It's about consistency. How do you keep your body up? How do you stay mentally, spiritually, and physically healthy. It's not a one-time deal, it's a lifestyle. And that's what, going to and being part of the NPC is for me. It helps me with my lifestyle because when I go on stage, I still gotta look good. You got not any fat girls going on. You guys have winners going on, people with passion, purpose, and an example to the folks that we are giving the trophies to, because we're saying, congratulations, I want to, I know how you feel. It's a great, great feeling. So thank you for that. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Well, one of the things that I share is, like she said, Carolyn said, was I share people's stories. I always do. And I'll tell you why. Because there's someone looking at Carolyn and maybe having that dream and said, what? At 57? At 60? And I'm 30? Maybe I can get up there. And here's the thing. I had interviewed Andres Miller as well for Lifechangers4life. And we talked about that. Everyone's a winner when you step on that stage, because the sacrifice and the suffering and the story that you probably have to get on that stage, win, lose, or draw, you won. You're on stage showing all your hard work. Like she said, it takes work. Everything in life takes work. Well, as we are under this quarantine, our life has changed. I had a lot of events canceled. I had a show canceled, speaking engagements, conferences canceled. For you, you've been working on the book. You've been working on your follow-ups and all that kind of stuff. You broke your wrist, unfortunately, your hand. But is there anything that I think that you were getting ready to do besides the activism that had stopped because of quarantine, or you just kind of been going on the same routine?
David, I love that question, and let me tell you why I love the question. I broke my wrist. I didn't know I broke my wrist, and I continued writing. I'm writing a book called Amazing Grace.
Amen.
And the Amazing Grace is a tribute to my father and his biblical teachings to me to help me to be the woman that I am today. I have not given one day of rest from writing the Amazing Grace. So that's kept me going. And in order to help others, things are going to happen in life, but you got to keep going. You were the one when I told you, I said, David, I think I may have broken my wrist, but I wasn't quite sure. And you said, well, Carolyn, this is what I did when I felt a little pain. And I took your recommendation. And then Monday, I discovered it was actually broken. So that's why I was in pain that Saturday. And then I got surgery, and, I have my beautiful bracelet, but nothing has stopped me. I share with people, use this time as for solitude and solence. Instead of looking at what you don't have, embrace those people that are in your life that you do have. If there's a book you've ever wanted to write, this is the time to write it, or journal your life. Love on your loved ones. So I have to share with you, my life hasn't changed a bit. I'm still doing it. As far as I'm concerned, I've been in a pandemic for the past 14 years.
Yeah.
Because things have been coming at me one after the other after the other. That's why I'm writing about God's amazing grace. If God has had grace with me, David, then guess what? I have to have grace with other people in my life.
Everyone else.
Come through. So the forgiveness for me is to continue to write, to continue. Right now I'm working on a movie. I'm working on a movie now.
Yes.
So I guess who else is going to be in that movie? You are.
I'm going to be in it. Okay, great. So I'm going back to the movies. We'll see which one finishes the script first. Do I finish my story first, or will you finish? You're probably going to finish it first. I have a feeling.
I got to share this with you. That picture behind you, and you're holding up your hand, numbered like God. I got to tell you, when I see that, I get teary-eyed because you believed in spite of. That was your pandemic right there. Everyone experiences a pandemic, but now it's universal, so people know what pain is. They know what sickness is. They know what dying is, because it's affecting all families. My work is more popular now than ever before. It's not like I just wrote these books. I have been talking about self-care forever. You've been talking about God's grace forever. And I have to commend you because, like I said, I look at the picture, you're bald, you're 120-something odd pounds, and you're still smiling because of God's grace. And you are you're an inspiration to me, David. I'm serious.
Well, before I finish, when I'm listening to her talk, and I know we went a little bit longer, but there's a story that she shared. I've interviewed Carolyn a few times for multiple shows, radio shows, podcasts. There's a story that she shared that I really feel like people need to listen to today. And it's a story, if you don't mind, without us trying to get too emotional, sharing the story that your father told you about the sand and about the pebbles. Would you mind just in a minute? I know we're long, but I just wanted to I feel like someone needs to hear that today.
I was 18 years old. I moved from Denver, Colorado to Los Angeles, and every March I would celebrate my father's birthday by doing something for him. So this particular birthday, I sent for my dad to come and visit me at Redondo Beach, California. And Dad, he came in March. In Colorado, it's snowing. But in Los Angeles, boy, the sun was shining. But on that particular Wednesday afternoon, it was a little misty in the sky. And folks from Los Angeles, if it's misty in the sky, they're not going to the beach because they consider that cold. Dad and I considered that a heat wave coming from California. So we were like the only two on the beach. So Dad and I were walking hand in hand in the sand, father and daughter, and just talking. And then we sat down, and Dad, being a pastor, a minister, he's always sharing the word of God, but he would do it through storytelling. And this is what he said to me that I've never forgotten. He said, Carolyn, do you see that beautiful bird over there? And I said, yeah, Dad, I see all the seagulls passing by it. I see it all. He said, but no, this one particular pelican. Do you see that pelican flying high, high in the sky? I said, yes, Dad, I see that pelican. He said, imagine if God gave that pelican only one job to do in life, and that is to take one grain of sand and fly all the way to the moon and drop off that one grain of sand and come back and pick up another grain of sand and go back and forth until there's no more sand on the face of the earth. He said, Carolyn, as he looked me directly into my eyes, how long do you think it would take the pelican to remove all the sand off the face of the earth, one grain at a time? I looked at Dad, I said, Dad, that would take forever. And he looked at me and said, Carolyn, God's love is eternal, and my love is eternal too. For as long as it takes the pelican to remove all the sand off the face of the earth, that's how long my love will be with you. I will not be with you forever, Carolyn. And I thought I was only 18. Oh, no, I don't want to talk about that, Dad. But I made a promise to God at that moment. I said, if my father ever dies, because he's Superman, Superman's heroes don't die. I said, if he dies, God, I will keep that promise. But I didn't think at 18
Correct.
that my father would ever die. But the day came when my father needed me to be his caregiver. I was right there by his side for 12 solid years. And I would do it again and again and again. And that's the first time Dad ever shared with me about the prospect of his death. And that day actually came. So I share that story in all my work because he was trying in a very gentle way to let me know that his love would be with me forever. And David, I feel his love to this day.
Amen.
His love is in this room. His love is with you.
Yeah.
He loves the fact that you love the story enough to have me to share it again. And David, thank you for that opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you, that story, when my father passed away, that was one of the stories that kept pumping up. Just remember, the love is eternal. And so that was a story. But the reason I say it is because there's people that are right now that are losing their lives and families that are losing their loved ones, and they're not able to, they're not even to listen or hear them say, I love you.
Yeah.
So I know hopefully someone's listening that story really goes in deep and fills them with joy to know that we are a spiritual being living in a body, right?
Yes.
So if we truly believe that, I hope that that story really meant something to somebody. So I said it, I get emotional sometimes, and it's okay. I ain't shy, I ain't embarrassed about it, because I know that you got to understand that that's how I am. That's my life, that's my spirit. So, but to end the interview, I want to make sure that like I share with all my guests, give me one word, Carolyn, one word. And by the way, thank you for sharing that story again for me. I know it's hard. Give me one word that has guided you through this time and that you can share with our audience to maybe give them an ounce of hope right now when they are maybe hopeless.
My one word, David, is love. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but will have everlasting life. That's what keeps me going. I'm going, if God could give up his Son, his only Son, what can we give up? We could give up going out to dinner. We could give up, hugging a person for a day or 2 or 3 or 4 or 100. I wish I could hug my dad, but I can't. So I look at the standpoint, people are complaining about being 6 feet apart, but it's way better than being 6 feet under. So love your loved ones, get on Zoom, get on Skype, get on everything and share your love, it's all about love, and that's what keeps me going. I know you love me, David. That's why I love your show. I love you back. And I love hearing your voice. I love reading your stories. I love everything about you and what you stand for. So your love is eternal as well, because regardless of how you feel, you will go on stage and you share everybody's story. Why? Because you love them and you're giving them the opportunity to share love too. And thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Well, as we conclude this amazing segment, I want to thank Carolyn again for her beautiful words, for taking the time today to share even more than I expected or even thought about. I hope that this interview really gave you a little bit of a space to think about what is love in your life. Like she says, that's her word, love. Talk about sacrificing of God, the Son of Jesus, dying on the cross and sacrificing his life for us. Talk about sacrificing time, sacrificing work, sacrificing your hobbies. What is it that you are able to sacrifice and give up? Well, now we don't even have a choice sometimes. We have to give up a lot of stuff because we don't have a choice because of where we are right now in this season of our lives. But it also gives you that opportunity to do more with that time, to maybe rethink the way you were, to love the people that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while, to love the things that you should be grateful for every single day. Think about your breathing. If you were right now in a hospital and it cost you $500 for someone to put you in a ventilator and go home and be okay, and you go to the nurse and say, $500? Yeah, $500 so he can breathe again. Let me ask you something. How long have you been breathing? How long have you been walking? How long have you been living? And it's free, right? Nothing in life is free. Everything has a sacrifice. It might not be money, but it might be your time. And the one thing that money cannot buy is time. So as I leave you with that, don't ever forget, find hope, have faith, and live every day with purpose. Thank you again, Carolyn.
Thank you.
May God continue to love you always. Have a good night.